Hello, everyone. As part of our Women's Day conversations, today we explore a powerful question. What does it really cost to speak up? And perhaps more importantly, what does it cost to stay silent? In corporate spaces, courage is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's a pause before a difficult sentence. Sometimes it's a calm response in a room where power is uneven. Sometimes it is choosing clarity over comfort. Today's conversation goes deeper into power gaps, perception risks, sponsorship, timing, and the quiet behaviors that build influence over time. And to help us explore this theme, we are joined by Suvidha Venkatesh, who currently serves as the General Manager at Manuli Hydraulics Connectors India Private Limited. Suvidha brings with her extensive leadership experience in the hydraulics and manufacturing industry, having led large organizational portfolios and strategic initiatives over the years. Her work spans operational management, business planning, negotiation, and P&L leadership, along with driving innovation and technology management within complex industrial environments. She has also been closely involved in M&A activities, greenfield project implementations, and large-scale operational transformations, bringing together strategy, execution, and people leadership. Suvidha holds a Master's of Science in Innovation and Technology Management from the University of Bath, and her career reflects a strong blend of technical expertise, strategic thinking, and leadership in traditionally male-dominated spaces. Suvidha, thank you for joining us today and for sharing your leadership journey and insights with us.
Thanks so much, Priyanka. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Suvidha. Suvidha, my first question to you. Many professionals choose silence to maintain harmony. What do you think is the long-term cost of staying silent in corporate spaces?
That's a very interesting question, Priyanka. If you ask me, we are professionals. We have been brought into the organization to bring out the concerns that the organization is facing, be it possible challenges, issues, and even possible solutions at that. So honestly speaking, I don't think silence is an option, or it's a very good option. But then the challenge here is bringing out this information and how you bring it out, how you bring concerns that you're dealing with on the ground, how do you bring it to the table? That's where, it matters. The cost of being silent just to have a very peaceful atmosphere is that you're doing no good for the organization, because the organization is losing insights. They don't know what exactly is happening. Okay, you've had a pleasant meeting today, yes, but at the end of the day, what have we achieved? That is where I think is the challenge for us. So long-term silence is not an option. How you bring it to the table matters. If you don't do it, then the whole organization loses perspective of what your challenges are.
True. So, Suvidha, do you think this hesitation or that urge to remain silent in order to maintain calm, this is more in women when compared to men? Have you seen this?
Yes and no. I can only speak from my personal experience. Especially when you're a woman and there is a room full of men that you are going to talk to, and you probably have a conflicting opinion or you're bringing in a completely different perspective to the table. The first thing that you do is you think twice. Do you really want to tell them this? It is social conditioning at some point, but it's also the matter of how we've been raised, the good girl syndrome, I call it.
Yes.
So we've all been raised to be the good girl who doesn't talk back, who doesn't say anything. And that, I think, tends to hold us back. But then I'm of the firm belief that if you have a valid point, your organization has hired you to bring this point out. Now, if somebody is going to be unhappy or it's going to ruffle a couple of feathers, I think so be it.
True.
I think we should stop, as women, we should stop being worried about what other people would think, what would be the repercussions of this, how it would impact. If you have a valid point, if you think it will add value to the discussion, to the ongoing topics, you should simply go ahead and speak. Nothing wrong.
That's right. And Suvidha, the good girl syndrome that you were talking about, what does it take to come out of it, to break that, barrier that we have been conditioned with? And all women leaders would have to go through that, right? At one point or the other. It's like speak out, give out your opinion, own up your voice, or still remain in that, silence and talks within your mind and stuff. So what does it take to break this barrier?
Okay. From my personal experience, what it takes is a couple of missed opportunities to go back home and say, I should have spoken. Why did it hold me back? And those missed opportunities, it pinches you in a way that you end up realizing that, okay, no point staying quiet any longer. You must talk. So that's actually a lot of work that needs to be done to get there, Priyanka. It's not easy. It's a massive activity. So one thing, when I started my career, I started working as a second-gen entrepreneur with my father. And one way he made me overcome this was he would put me in situations that were completely alien. So imagine I was a 22-year-old and he sent me to Ahmedabad and said, go ahead, put up a plant in Ahmedabad and come back. And I'm like, oh, but how do I do it? Who do I speak? I said, yeah, figure it out. So me and another colleague of mine, the two of us were roaming in the dusty streets of Ahmedabad trying to figure out how to start it. And then we realized we have to speak. And then when you come with that kind of an experience, you bring it to the table, then the fear disappears because you have now experienced the world, So you're no longer, it's no longer holding you back. So I think a couple of ways to syndrome is to go experience the world, take on those challenging opportunities, things that, would shock the world and say, oh, are you a single girl who's going so far? She's trying to do this. Yeah, so what? Okay, it was not actually challenging. People were very nice that I was somebody young. There were people who took me around, customers, suppliers who came and helped me saying, oh, Akeli bachi aaye hai, let us try and help her. So I ended up realizing that the world is not what we have imagined it to be. There's a lot more happening.
Yes, absolutely. Now, drawing in from what you said, Suvidha, so at times it's a pleasant surprise that people, come out by themselves, try to help you. But at times when you would have expected some sort of a help from the other end or some sort of a support from the other end, you don't get it. It would be a shocker. So how did you balance the surprise and shocker? If you can, talk about a couple of leaves from your experience.
That's an excellent point, Priyanka. Honestly speaking, now I've come to a conclusion that you have to walk in imagining that there is nobody who is going to help you. So any help that comes your way is a wonderful surprise and you're grateful for it and you appreciate it. I know it's a little bleak way of thinking, but it's, it's a way of protecting oneself by imagining that, okay, it's just me against this challenge. How am I going to face it and what am I going to do? So that's one way I have tried to look at it. First, by lowering my expectations. That way you are not setting yourself up for failure. You're very clear. Okay, if nothing happens, I still have a backup plan. And then secondly, creating different scenarios, trying to plan for different scenarios. So you have option A, option B, option C, sometimes even option D. In case this fails, what do you do? In case this fails. So that way, I think, you start losing that dependency and you start becoming a lot more independent.
True, absolutely true. And Suvidha, how do courageous conversations change when the power gap in the room is large? Like, for example, when you're speaking to someone senior, then how do you handle that situation? How do you handle that power gap? You know you have to speak up, you know you have to opinion, but on the other end, we were talking about social conditioning and stuff, right? So you know the other person is a little older in terms of age or experience, but still, you know your point is valid. Given the situation, how do you put across your thoughts?
Again, this is something that I've learned from experience. During my initial days, I held back, especially when the other person was older, much more powerful, had a lot more experience compared to what I was bringing to the table. And, you always end up thinking, what if I'm wrong? How would you deal with it? But then I realized over a period of time, again, experience teaches you, it throws you in different, when you throw yourself into uncharted territory, so to speak, you realize that when the power gap is large, there's actually, it depends on how you frame what you want to say. That's the only difference. See, when you're talking to somebody at an extremely high level, for example, a management person, their expectation is they are looking at the organization from a 20,000 feet level. So, whereas you are probably coming from an operational day-to-day level with, data, day-to-day this thing. So, this ability to go up to that 20,000 feet, give them that perspective, and then bring it back down to, pepper it with data coming from your ground level perspective. This is where I think the real sweet spot is, if you ask me. And all my conversations so far, be it with CEOs, top management, has been very positive because we've been able to, the ability to zoom out and zoom back in gives them the perspective that they're looking for. So end of the day, that's what you're trying to achieve, right? To give them the right kind of perspective. So I think that helps.
That's right, Suvidha. And Suvidha, another question, like we women are told that we are emotional beings, and at times it becomes a little difficult for us to separate that emotion from the message that we are trying to say. So given the case in such situations, how do we address this? Separating emotion from the message that you want to convey.
Okay, this is something very close to my heart because I'm a rather emotional person, or it tends to get to me very quickly. But over a period of time, I learned that not all the feedback that's coming your way is a personal attack, or it is even sometimes even connected to you. So what I've learned over a period is that, especially when you're facing, you realize that it's a bias or an unfair point coming your way.
Yes.
And the first reaction you want to do is you want to fight it out and say, hey, that was not fair. Okay, good. If you're able to say that it was not fair, to point it out at that moment, great. Second way I would work with it is then to dial back and see what was the image that was there, what was the the thought behind that, what was the real concern that was coming through that kind of feedback. You go back to it in a very clinical, cold manner, look at it. Okay, is there any weight in this criticism or discussion that we've seen? When you remove the emotion from it and you just look at it based on facts, you realize that sometimes there is point to be noted. So there is a good, maybe there was a lapse that somebody's pointing it out. Then you just take it without emotions in a very clinical way. Yes, there was an error, we will fix it. If there was absolutely nothing wrong and this was just a feedback coming from something completely out of your control. Now, what could you do about it, right? So you brush it off, walk away. If you can give back feedback saying that, listen, this was not a great thing to get from you, great. If you're not in a position to give a feedback, walk away, because your worth doesn't come from what anybody else says. It comes from within, right? You're super strong, so nothing else matters. Women by themselves are so strong. So I think that has been the way that I have been dealing with this. Very clear-cut boundaries between my personal emotions and my professional activities, and very clear-cut demarcations in my feelings. That helps.
Wonderful. Very nice, Suvidha. And Suvidha, how important do you think visibility is for us women, especially at the leadership level? Because mostly, we shy away. I was just having this conversation with another speaker the other day. She said many of the people who work with her, women, though they would have done the task, they would shy away from taking credit for it, or speak up and say, this is what I have done, this is my idea, my thoughts. So that visibility is something that's a little uncomfortable for many women. So have you come across this? If yes, how did you get over that?
This is something that most women face. Again, it comes back to our good girl syndrome, no? Stay in the background. Be pleasant around people, be nice, all of this. When you look back at it and then you see that you're not getting credit for the work that you've done, I realized that there's no point holding back. Go sit next to your boss. Nothing wrong. Have a conversation. Invite them over. Take a cup of coffee and say, "Okay, hi, I'm here because I want to, give you feedback on this, or this is what we are doing at the moment." Honestly speaking, I think it's very scary when you're doing it initially, but when you start doing it over and over again, you realize that it's not so tough. It's not very difficult. It's doing it the first time, which is jittery, going and sitting at the head of the table, or trying to walk into a meeting where probably you were not invited, or there were challenges of any other kind. But then when you realize that you've gone into this meeting and you see that there's really nothing too earth-shattering about it, so
it's us who have to take the chances a couple of times and then get used to it.
Totally. I think that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, I think what is holding us back is ourselves.
Yes.
Honestly, I've had people who've been happy that I've come and spoken to them, who've been, so excited that, okay, listen, we really enjoyed talking to you, your perspectives, your insights into the business. It's been really nice. But the fear was going up and saying hello. That was a challenge. So you learn, it's very difficult the first time, but you learn every time you go and sit at the table. It gets a little bit easier.
Yes, absolutely. And Suvidha, influence today is less positional and more relational. What behaviors quietly build this influence over time?
For me, Priyanka, what builds influence is very clear. I believe that integrity and strength of character is primary importance, because you could do anything in this world, and if you don't have integrity and if you don't have that strength in your character, then it's very easy to shake you, and that does not give you credibility to build relationships at the corporate level, to build visibility at a corporate level. So I think being honest, having a lot of integrity, following, being truthful. Okay, sorry, this doesn't happen. It didn't happen. This is the reason why it didn't happen. Okay, do we need to fix it? We'll fix it. Having the strength of character to stand up and say, yes, guys, we goofed up, we messed up, we're going to fix it shortly. Having the strength of character to stand up and say what's happening is wrong. Not always easy, it's very challenging.
Yes.
So these I think are the critical things. Everything else you can learn. You can learn to communicate better. You can learn to code better. You can learn to engineering could be learned. You can do a lot of things can be learned, but the basic integrity that you have, what the culture that you come from, the strength of character that you have, that is non-negotiable for me. I think that's the only thing that takes you to the top.
True, absolutely true. And Suvidha, earlier when we spoke about negotiations, there was a conception that it was only connected to pay. But today, what kind of negotiations do women usually overlook in the corporate life? What other negotiations are we talking about?
When we look at negotiations, yes, you're right. The first thing we talk about is pay, because so many times, Priyanka, pay itself is not fair.
Yes,
you need to fight it out to get there. There have been so many instances where I've had to fight it out to get to, probably somebody else in my position wouldn't have had to fight it out to get what they deserve. So for us, what happens, we start off on a negative wicket, no? So you're fighting for pay itself first.
Yes.
Then the second thing that we I think as women we tend to ignore is asking for a work-life balance. Because when you start hitting leadership positions, you are expected to work like no other man. You are expected to push boundaries, be available 24/7. You're working through the weekend. And these become, expectations, because you're already in a seat that was not meant for you. You're on a mission to constantly prove yourself. Now, is this perceived? Is it coming from within us, or is it coming from outside? Again, that's a debatable question. It swings both ways, normally. But I think where we women fail is to negotiate a decent work-life balance. Where we fail is to ask for leadership positions, opportunities, to have visibility, access to top positions, because we're first of all so great, happy that we're here, that we don't want to shake the boat.
True.
So I think these are the areas that we ought to be negotiating on, having a better work-life balance, having a better visibility on leadership positions, not being afraid to be put on difficult projects or very strategic, important projects. These things that we should learn to negotiate, I feel.
Absolutely, Suvidha. Suvidha, before we move ahead to the rapid fire round questions, I have one question for you. So you have seen women on both the ends, the one in the management, the one maybe who are working at the lower rung. So you might have seen both of them. So what do you have to say about the struggle in their professional life? So is it the same, or is it different in some way? What is your perspective with respect to this?
That's a very interesting question, Priyanka. I think the struggles are similar. We both of us, somebody on the shop floor, my colleague on the shop floor, my colleague in another area is fighting the same battles that I am, the perceptions, the biases. Probably life's been a bit easier for me. There have been a lot more opportunities coming my way compared to my colleague on the shop floor. So the challenges she has to face is even stronger, because she's facing a larger gender bias. She's facing a larger expectation from society. She's expected to take care of her children, her husband, her home, and then come and work like a man who has nothing to go back home and worry about, So I think it's extremely challenging to have, as a society, we're still learning how to work with this kind of a scenario. Our society wasn't built for this. It was an agrarian society where women took care of home, men took care of farm and agriculture, and it worked well in that perspective. But today, when it's an industrialized setup, you have both of them coming into work, there has to be a division of labor also happening at home.
Yes.
So I think the challenges that she faces are far greater. But then I'm not saying that people at my level or my colleagues at my level are not less challenged. We are fighting a different battle. We are fighting a battle of perception, of biases. She's fighting a real on ground battle of dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. So I think we're very similar. It's just the degree of challenge that we have varies.
Thank you so much. Let's move ahead to the rapid fire round. So, Suvidha, my first question to you is, courage feels hardest when?
I think it feels the hardest when you're the only person who is going to who has the ability to talk about what nobody else wants to talk about. So I think raising the point that nobody else wants to talk about is the most difficult.
Absolutely. One leadership stereotype you dislike?
The stereotype that I've often come across, especially being a woman leader, has been that women leaders are very aggressive and assertive to succeed. So I think that is a very that's not a stereotype that I like, because I think you could be assertive, you could be firm, and you could still be a nice person at the end of the day.
True. A sentence women should practice saying more often?
I don't necessarily agree with that. And here's why.
Yes.
I think that is the sentence, because we find it very difficult to differ from in a group. So I think to say that is a big challenge for us.
Influence grows when?
When you work with integrity, when you are when you have credibility in what you do.
Right. And I think this question is going to be interesting. One bias that still surprises you?
One bias would be, again, I think it's that women women on top are perceived to be very aggressive and loud and shouting. Only then you're a strong woman leader. They don't realize that a calm sense of an individual could also be strength.
True. That's true. Conflict is not?
It's not to be feared. If real work is being done, then conflict will arise. How you manage this conflict is where the real challenge is.
True. One thing young leaders overthink in tough conversations?
From my personal experience, I've always overthought about other people's feelings and not wanting to hurt them. But in the process, I've realized that sometimes tough messages need to go out, but in the most diplomatic way as possible.
Power is best used for?
Getting the job done.
Yes. Suvidha, kindly finish this line for us. The bravest thing I ever said at work was?
Excuse me, but I'd like to share a different perspective.
Wonderful. Suvidha, thank you so much for being a part of this important conversation. Your insights and experiences have added great depth to this discussion. We truly appreciate you taking the time and sharing your perspective and leadership journey with us today.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Priyanka. It's really nice to see that people like you and your team are working in this area, asking people and bringing these nuanced aspects of women leadership out, so that other people also realize that everybody is going through the same thing pretty much. So this, I hope our discussion inspires more people to join us.
Yes, absolutely, Suvidha. Thank you so much once again.
Absolute pleasure, Priyanka.